great. That's just great. This is not my standard greeting, I assure you. I tend towards something a little more formal, a little less inquisitive, such as, say, hello. But it is the standard greeting around here. There is some debate as to the correct response to this salutation. Should one reply, I feel good, using feel as a copulative to link the subject I to its subjective complement good? Or I feel well, modifying with an adverb the subject state of being? I don't know. I'm a professor of 17th century English literature, specialising in the holy sonnets of John Donne, so I just say, fine. Of course, it is not very often that I do feel fine. I have been asked how you're feeling today while I was throwing up into a plastic wash basin. I have been asked as I was emerging from a 4-hour operation with a tube in every orifice. Hi, how are you feeling today? I'm waiting for the moment when someone asks me this question and I am dead. I'm a little sorry I shall miss that. It is unfortunate that this remarkable line of inquiry has come to me so late in my career. I could have exploited its famed solicitude to great advantage. As I was distributing the final examination paper to the 17th century course in textual criticism. Hi, how are you feeling today? Of course, I would not be wearing this costume at the time, so the question's ironic significance would not be fully apparent. As I trust it is now. Irony is a literary device that will necessarily be deployed to great advantage. I ardently wish it were not so. I would prefer that a play about me be cast in the mythic, heroic pastoral mode. But the facts, most notably stage 4 metastatic ovarian cancer, conspire against that. The fairy queen, this is not. And I was dismayed to discover that the play will contain elements of humour. I have been at best an unwitting accomplice. It's not my intention to give away the plot, but I think I die at the end. They've given me less than 2 hours. If I were poetically inclined, I might employ a threadbare metaphor, the sands of time slipping through the hourglass, the 2-hour glass. Now our sands are almost run, more a little, and then done. Shakespeare. I trust the name is familiar. At the moment, however, I am disinclined to poetry. I have less than 2 hours, and then curtain. I shall never forget the time I found out I had cancer.
You have cancer.
See? Unforgettable! It was something of a shock. I had to sit down.
Please sit down. Miss Baring, you have advanced metastatic ovarian cancer.
Go on.
You're a professor, Miss Baring.
Like yourself, Dr. Kalikian.
Well, yes. Now then, you present with a growth that unfortunately went undetected in stages 1, 2, and 3. Now it is an insidious adenocarcinoma which has spread from the primary adnexal mass.
Insidious.
Insidious means undetected.
Insidious means treacherous.
shall I continue?
By all means.
Good. The invasive epithelial carcinoma.
Insidious. It's a curious word choice. Cancer. Cancel. By cancer, nature's changing course, untrimmed. No, that's not it.
Am I going too far?
No.
Good.
I must read something about cancer. Get some books, some articles, assemble a bibliography. Is anyone doing research on cancer? Concentrate. Anti-neoplastic, anti against neoplastic to shape to form, anti-neoplastic against new shaping.
From the lips to the anus and the hair follicle.
Hair follicles.
We will, of course, be relying on your resolve
My
to
resolve.
withstand the more pernicious.
Pernicious, that hardly
Miss
seems to...
Baring.
I beg your pardon.
Do you have any questions
Yeah,
so
please,
far?
go on.
Well, perhaps some of these terms are new, I realise.
No, you are being most thorough.
Oh, I make a point of it. I always emphasize it with my students.
Oh, so do I. Thoroughness, I tell them. But they're constitutionally averse to painstaking work.
Yours too.
It's worse every year.
And this is not dermatology, this is medical oncology, for God's sake.
My students read a text once, and they think it's time for a break.
Mine are blind.
Mine are deaf.
Well, you just have to hope.
I suppose.
Where were we, Dr. Baring?
I believe I was being thoroughly diagnosed.
Right. Now, the tumour is spreading very quickly. And this treatment is very aggressive. So far, so good?
Yes.
Better not teach next semester.
Oh, out of the question.
The first week of each cycle, you'll be hospitalised for chemotherapy. The next week, you may feel a little tired. The next 2 weeks will be fine, relatively. This cycle will repeat 8 times, as I said before.
8 months like that.
This treatment is the strongest thing we have to offer you. And as research, it will make a significant contribution to our knowledge.
Knowledge, yes.
Here is the informed consent form. Should you agree, you sign down there at the bottom. Is there a family member you would like me to explain this to?
That will not be necessary.
Good. The important thing is for you to take the full dose of chemotherapy. Now, there may be times when you wish for a lesser dose due to the side effects, but we've got to go full force. The experimental phase has got to have the maximum dose to be of any use. Dr. Baring.
Yes.
You must be very tough. You think you can be very tough?
You needn't worry.
Good. Excellent.
I should have asked more questions, because I know there's going to be a test. I have cancer. Insidious cancer with pernicious side effects. No, the treatment has pernicious side effects. I have stage 4 metastatic ovarian cancer. There is no stage 5. Oh, and I have to be very tough. It appears to be a matter, as the saying goes, of life and death. I know all about life and death. I am, after all, a scholar of Donne's Holy Sonnets, which explore mortality in greater depth than any other body of work in the English language. And I know for a fact I am tough. A demanding professor, uncompromising, never one to turn from a challenge. That is why I chose, as a student of the great E.M. Ashford, to study Donne. Professor Ashford...
Do it again.
It was something of a shock. I had to sit down.
Please sit down. Your essay on Holy Sonnet 6, Miss Baring, is a melodrama with a veneer of scholarship unworthy of you. To say nothing of done, do it again. You must begin with a text, Miss Baring, not with a feeling. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. You have entirely missed the point of the poem, because, I must tell you, you have used an edition of the text that is inauthentically punctuated. In the Gardner edition...
That edition was out of the library.
Miss Baring, sorry. You take this too lightly, Miss Baring. This is metaphysical poetry, not the modern novel. The standards of scholarship and critical reading which one would apply to any other text are simply insufficient. The effort must be total for the results to be meaningful. Do you think the punctuation of the last line of this sonnet is merely an insignificant detail? The sonnet begins with a valiant struggle with death, calling on all the forces of intellect and drama to vanquish the enemy, but it is ultimately about overcoming the seemingly insuperable barriers separating life, death, and eternal life. In the edition you chose, this profoundly simple meaning is sacrificed to hysterical punctuation. And death, capital D, shall be no more, semicolon. Death, capital D, comma, thou shalt die, exclamation mark. I mean, if you're going for this sort of thing, I suggest you take up Shakespeare. Gardner's edition of the Holy Sonnets returns to the Westmoreland manuscript source of 1610, not for sentimental reasons, I assure you, but because Helen Gardner is a scholar. It reads, and death shall be no more, comma. Death, thou shalt die. Nothing but a breath, a comma, separates life from life everlasting. It is very simple, really. With the original punctuation restored, death is no longer something to act out on the stage with exclamation marks. It's a comma, a pause. This way, the uncompromising way, one learns something from this poem, wouldn't you say? Life, death, soul, God, past, present, not insuperable barriers, not semicolons, just a comma.
Life, death. I see. It's a metaphysical conceit. It's wit. I'll go back to the library and rewrite the paper.
No, it is not wit, Miss Baring, it is truth. The paper's not the point.
It isn't?
Vivian, you're a bright young woman. Use your intelligence. Don't go back to the library. Go out. Enjoy yourself with your friends.
I went outside. The sun was very bright. I walked round past the There were students on the lawn, talking about nothing, laughing. The insuperable barrier between one thing and another is just a comma. Simple human truth. Uncompromising scholarly standards. They're connected. I just couldn't. I went back to the library. Anyway, all right. 8 cycles of chemotherapy, significant contribution to knowledge. Give me the full dose. The full dose every time. The attention was flattering for the first 5 minutes. Now I know how poems feel.
No.
My name? Vivian Baring.
Huh?
Baring. B-E-A-R-I-N-G. Vivian, V-I-V-I-A-N.
Doctor.
Yes, I have a PhD.
Your doctor.
Oh, Dr. Harvey Kalikian. I am a doctor of philosophy.
Take a deep breath and hold it. Okay.
A scholar of 17th century poetry.
Turn sideways, put your arms behind your head and hold it. Okay.
I have made an immeasurable contribution to the discipline of English literature. I am, in short, a force.
Name.
Lucy, Countess of Bedford.
I don't see it.
My name is Vivian Baring, B-E-A-R-I-N-G. Dr. Kalikian is my doctor.
Okay, lie down.
After an outstanding undergraduate career, I studied for 3 years with Professor E.M. Ashford, during which time I learned by instruction and example what it means to be a scholar of distinction. As her research fellow, my principal task was the alphabetizing of index cards for Ashford's monumental critical edition of Donne's Devotions upon Emergent Occasions. I am thanked in the preface. Miss Vivian Baring, for her able assistance. My dissertation, Ejaculations in Manuscript and Print Editions of the Holy Sonnets, a Comparison, was revised for publication in the Journal of English Texts, a very prestigious venue for a first appearance.
Where's your wheelchair?
I do not know. I was busy just now.
Well, how are you going to get out of here without a chair?
Well, I do not know. Perhaps you would like me to stay.
I guess I gotta go get you one.
Don't inconvenience yourself on my behalf. My second article, a classic explication of Donne's sonnet, Death Be Not Proud, was published in Critical Discourse. The success of that essay prompted the University Press to solicit a volume on the 12 Holy Sonnets in the 1633 edition, which I produced in the remarkably short span of 3 years. My book, entitled Made Cunningly, remains an immense success, in paper as well as cloth. In it, I devote one chapter to each of the sonnets, discussing every word in extensive detail. I summarize previous critical interpretations of the text, and I offer my own analysis. It is exhaustive. B-E-A-R-I-N-G, Kalikian.
Here, hold still.
For how long?
Just a little while.
The scholarly study of poetic texts requires a capacity for scrupulously detailed examination, particularly the poetry of John Donne. The salient characteristic of the poems is wit. Itchy outbreaks of far-fetched wit, as Donne himself said. To the common reader, that is to say the undergraduate with a B+ or better average, wit provides an invaluable exercise in sharpening the mental faculties, in stimulating that flash of comprehension that can only follow hours of painstaking and seemingly pointless scrutiny. To the scholar, To the mind comprehensively trained in the subtleties of 17th century vocabulary, versification, theological, historical, geographical, political and mythological allusion, wit is a way to see just how good you really are. After 20 years, I can say with confidence, no one is quite as good as I.
Susie,
Oh, hi.
ready when you are.
Okay, go ahead. Miss Baring, this is Jason Posner. He's going to do your history, ask you a bunch of questions. He's Dr. Kalikian's fellow.
Hi, Professor Baring. I'm Dr. Posner, clinical fellow in the medical oncology branch, working with Dr. Kalikian. Professor Baring, I was an undergraduate at the uni. I took your course in 17th century poetry.
You did?
Yes, I thought it was excellent.
Oh, thank you. You were an English major?
No, biochemistry. But you can't get into medical school unless you're well-rounded. And I made a bet with myself that I could get an A in the 3 hardest courses on campus.
How'd you do, Jace?
Success?
Really?
A minus. It was a very tough course. I'll call you.
Okay.
I'll just pull this over. Get the proximix right here. There. Good. Now, I'm going to be taking your history. It's a medical interview, and then I give you an exam.
Oh, I believe Dr. Kalikian has already done that.
Well, I know that Dr. Kalikian wants me to do it too. Now, I'll be taking some notes as we go along.
Very well.
Okay, let's get started. How are you feeling today?
Fine, thank you.
Good. How is your general health?
Fine.
Excellent. Now, we know you're an academic,
Yes, we have established that.
so we don't need to talk about your interesting work.
No.
How old are you?
50.
Are you married?
No.
Are your parents living?
No.
How and when did they die?
My father suddenly, when I was 21, of a heart attack. My mother slowly, when I was 41 and 42, of cancer, breast cancer.
Cancer?
Breast cancer.
I see. Any siblings?
No.
Do you have any questions so far?
Not so far.
Okay, well that about does it for your life history.
Yes, that's all there is to my life history.
Now I'm going to ask you some questions about your past medical history. Have you ever been hospitalised?
I had my tonsils out when I was 8.
Have you ever been pregnant?
No.
Ever had heart murmurs, high blood pressure?
No.
Stomach, liver, kidney problems?
No.
Venereal diseases, uterine infections?
No.
Thyroid, diabetes, cancer?
No. Cancer, yes.
Well,
Now!
not including now.
Oh, in that case, no.
Okay, clinical depression, nervous breakdowns, suicide
No.
attempts. Do you smoke?
No.
Ethanol?
I'm sorry?
Alcohol.
Oh, ethanol. Yes, I drink wine.
How much? How often?
A glass with dinner occasionally, and perhaps scotch every now and then.
Do you use substances?
Such as?
Marijuana, cocaine, crack cocaine, PCP, ecstasy, poppers?
No.
Do you drink caffeinated beverages?
Oh, yes.
Which ones?
Coffee, a few cups a day.
How many?
2 to 6, but I really don't think that's immoderate.
How often do you undergo routine medical checkups?
Well, not as often as I should probably, but I have felt fine, really, I have.
So the answer is...
Every 3 to 5 years.
What do you do for exercise?
Pace.
Are you having sexual relations?
Not at the moment.
Are you pre or postmenopausal?
Pre.
When was the first day of your last period?
2 weeks ago.
Okay. When did you first notice your present complaint?
This time, now.
Yes.
About 4 months ago, I felt a pain in my stomach, in my abdomen, like a cramp, but not the same.
How did it feel?
Like a cramp.
But not the same.
No, duller, stronger. I can't describe it.
What came next?
Well, I don't know. I started noticing my body, little things. I would be teaching and feel a sharp pain.
What kind of pain?
Sharp and sudden, and then it would go away. Or I would be tired, exhausted. I was working on a major project, the article on John Donne for the Oxford Encyclopedia of English Literature. It was a great honour, but I had a very strict deadline.
So you would say you were under stress?
Not more so than usual. I just couldn't withstand it this time. I don't know.
So?
So I went to see Dr. Chin, my gynecologist, after I had submitted the article. And I explained all this. She examined me. She sent me to Jefferson, the internist, and he sent me to Kalikian because he thought I might have a tumour.
And that's it?
Until now.
Well, that's very interesting. Okay, well, I guess we'll start the examination. It'll only take a few minutes. Why don't you sort of lie back and... Oh, relax. Be very relaxed. This won't hurt. Okay, just stay calm. Okay, just put your feet up there, just there. Okay, now... Oh, I have to go get Susie. Got to have a girl here. Some crazy clinical rule. I'll be right back. Don't move.
I wish I'd given him an A. Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow, die not poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me.
Has anybody seen Susie?
Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and poppies or charms can make us sleep as well and better than thy stroke. Why swell'st thou then?
She was just here a minute ago.
One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more, comma, death thou shalt die.
What is this? Why did you leave her?
I had to find you. Now, come on. Get these on. We're ready, Professor Baring. Okay, lift this up. Oh, okay. Just relax. Okay. Susie, isn't that interesting that I had Professor Baring?
Yeah, I wish I'd taken some literature. I don't know anything about poetry.
Professor Baring was very highly regarded on campus. It looked very good on my transcript that I had taken her course. They even asked me about it in my interview for med school. Jesus.
What?
Good. Yeah, I survived Baring's course. No problem. Yeah, John Donne, those metaphysical poets, that metaphysical wit. Hardest poetry in the English department. I'd like to see them try biochemistry. Okay, we're about done. Okay, that's it. Okay, Professor Baring. Okay, I've got to go. I've got to go.
That was hard. That was. One thing can be said for an 8-month course of cancer treatment. It is highly educational. I am learning to suffer. Yes, it was mildly uncomfortable to have an electrocardiogram, but the agony of a proctosigmoidoscopy sweeps it from the memory. Yes, it was embarrassing to have to wear a nightgown all day long, but that seemed like a positive privilege compared to watching myself go bald. Yes, having a former student perform a pelvic exam was thoroughly degrading. I use the term deliberately. But I could not have imagined the depths of humiliation that oh God, oh God, oh sorry, oh God, please, oh sorry, yeah. Oh God! What's left? I haven't eaten in 2 days. What's left to puke? You may remark my vocabulary has taken a turn for the Anglo-Saxon. Oh God, I'm going to bath my brains out. If I did bath my brains out, it would be a great loss to my discipline. Not that a few of my colleagues would be relieved, to say nothing of my students. It's not that I'm controversial. I'm just uncompromising. False alarm. If word did get out that Vivian Baring had bathed her brains out, well, the first thing that would happen is that my colleagues, most of whom are my former students, would scramble madly for my position. Then their consciences would flare up, and so, to honour my memory, they would put together a collection of their essays on John Donne. The volume would begin with a warm introduction, capturing my most endearing qualities. It will be short, but sweet. Published and perished. Now, watch. I must get someone to come and measure this emesis and record the amount on a chart of my daily intake and output. This counts as output.
How are you feeling, Miss Baring? You having some nausea?
Yes.
Oh, why didn't I get that?
It's about 300 cc's.
Is that all?
It was very hard work.
Yep, 300. It's a good guess. Okay. Now, is there anything else that I can get for you? Some jelly or anything?
Thank you, no.
And you're okay all by yourself here?
Yes.
You're not having many visitors, are you?
None, to be precise.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Is there somebody I can call for you, or...?
That will not be necessary.
Well, I might just pop my head in every once in a while and see how you're coming along. Kalikian and the fellows will be in soon, but if there's anything you need, you just ring.
Thank you.
Okay, just call.
In this dramatic structure, you will see the most interesting aspects of my tenure as an inpatient receiving experimental chemotherapy for advanced metastatic ovarian cancer. But or an impresario. I feel obliged to document what it is like here most of the time, between the dramatic climaxes, between the spectacle. In truth, it is like this. You cannot imagine how time can be so still. It hangs. It waves. Yet there is so little of it. It goes so slowly. And yet it is so scarce. If I were writing this scene, it would take a full 15 minutes. I would lie here and you would sit there. Not to worry, brevity is the soul of wit. But if you think 8 months of cancer treatment is tedious for the audience, consider how it feels to play my part. All right. It is Friday morning. Grand rounds. Action!
Dr. Bailey.
Dr. Kalikian.
Jason.
Professor Baring, how are you feeling today?
Fine.
That's great, that's just great.
Grand rounds. The term is
Very
there.
late detention.
Not grand in the traditional sense of sweeping or majestic. Not round as in musical canon or a round of applause. Although either would be refreshing at this point. No, here, round seems to signify darting around the subject, which I suppose would be the struggle for life. My life, with heated discussion of side effects, other complaints, additional treatments. Grand rounds is not grand opera, but compared to lying here, it is positively dramatic, full of hierarchies, subservience, gratuitous displays, sublimated rivalries. I feel right at home. It's just like a graduate seminar. With one important difference. In grand rounds, they read me like a book. Once I did the teaching. Now I'm taught. This is much easier. I just have to lie still and look cancerous. It requires less acting every time. Excellent command of detail.
Excellent command of details.
I taught him, you know.
Okay. Problem areas with hex and vin.
Well, first, of course, is myelosuppression, or lowering of blood cell counts. It goes without saying. With this combination of agents, nephrotoxicity will be next.
Come on.
The kidneys are designed to filter out impurities in the bloodstream. In trying to filter the chemotherapeutic agent out of the bloodstream, the kidneys shut down.
Intervention.
Hydration.
Monitoring.
Full recording of fluid intake and output, as you see here on these graphs, to monitor hydration and kidney function. Totals monitored daily by the clinical fellow as per the protocol.
Anybody else? Side effects.
Nausea and vomiting.
Jason.
Routine.
Pain while urinating.
Routine.
Psychological depression.
No way.
Come on. Other complaints about hexamethylphosphoryl and vinplatin. Come on.
Mouth sores.
Not yet.
Skin rash.
No.
Why do we waste our time, Dr. Baring?
I do not know, Dr. Kalikian.
Use your eyes. Jesus God. Hair loss.
You can see that.
Jason.
Hair loss after first cycle of treatment.
That's better. Dr. Baring, full dose. Keep pushing the fluids. Excellent. Jason.
Huh?
Clinical.
Oh! Thank you, Professor Baring. You've been very cooperative.
Wasn't that grand? Sometimes this obsessively detailed examination, this scrutiny, seems to me to be a nefarious business. On the other hand, what is the alternative? Ignorance. Ignorance may be bliss, but it's not a very noble goal. So I play my part. I receive chemotherapy, I throw up, I am subjected to countless indignities, I feel better, I go home. 8 cycles. 8 neat little strophes. Oh, there have been the usual variations. Red herrings, subplots, hepatotoxicity, liver poison, neuropathy, nerve death. These are medical terms. I look them up. It has always been my custom to treat words with respect. I can remember the time, the very hour of the very day I knew words would be my life's work. It was my 5th birthday. I like that one the best.
Read another.
I think I'll read The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. It has little bunnies on the cover. The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies by Beatrix Potter. It is said that the effect of eating too much lettuce is what is that word?
Sound it out.
Soporific. 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 What does that mean?
Soporific, causing sleep.
Causing sleep.
Makes you sleepy.
Soporific means makes you sleepy.
Correct.
Soporific means makes you sleepy. Soporific.
Use it in a sentence. What has a soporific effect on you?
A soporific effect on me.
What makes you sleepy?
Nothing.
Correct.
How about you?
What has a soporific effect on me? Let me think. Boring conversation, I suppose, after dinner.
Me too. Boring conversation.
Carry on.
It is said that the effect of eating too much lettuce is soporific. The bunnies are asleep. They are sleeping just as you said because of soporific. The illustration bore out the meaning of the word. At the time, it seemed like magic. Imagine then the effect the words of John Donne first had on me. Ratiocination, concatenation, coruscation, tergiversation. Medical terms are less evocative. Still, I want to know what the doctors mean when they anatomize me. And I will grant that in this particular field of endeavour they possess a more potent arsenal of terminology than I. My only defence is the acquisition of vocabulary. Fever and neutropenia.
When did it start?
I was at home, I was reading, I felt so bad. I called fever and neutropenia, they said to come in.
You did the right thing to come. Did somebody drive you?
Yeah, but I took a taxi.
All right, here. Why don't you sit? You just sit here a minute and I'll go get Jason. He's on call tonight and we'll get him to give you some meds. I'm glad I was here on nights. I'm going to make sure you get to bed soon, okay? It'll just be a minute and I'll get you some juice. Some nice juice with lots of ice.
The lights, I left the lights on in my house.
Don't you worry, it'll be all right.
How you feeling, Professor Baring?
My teeth are chattering.
Vitals?
Temp 39.4, pulse 120, respiration 36, chills and sweating.
Fever and neutropenia. It's a shake and bake. Your blood cultures and urine stat. Admit her, prepare for reverse isolation. Start with acetaminophen. Vitals every 4 hours.
Jason, I think you need to talk to Kalikian about lowering the dose for her next cycle. It's too much for her like this.
Lower the dose? No way. Full dose. She's tough. She can take it. Wake me up when the cards come from the lab.